You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
It's 33-10. Denver running back Devontae Williams had 2 rushing touchdowns, while the Broncos defense recorded 6 sacks, forced 2 fumbles, and even scored a touchdown.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Gary Harris Show for this Friday, October 18, 2024. I'm Gary Harris, live this morning at Innisfree Irish Pub in beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama, near the campus of the University of Alabama. And right here on University Boulevard, just as I said, a hop, skip, and a jump from the campus, right here on the edge of downtown. Great location, and I know they don't open until 11 a.m., but I'm here from 9 to 11 this morning, and as I've said before, and we have a couple people every now and then that take us up on it. If you want to come by and hang out and slide in that side door, we're not going to say anything. Now, you won't be able to eat and drink until 11, but I'm here as part of Fridays at the Free. Chase Brumfeld is back in the studio, manning the controls, taking your phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline at 205-342-9904. And it is the third Saturday in October Eve as Alabama gets ready to face Tennessee tomorrow afternoon on the banks of the Tennessee River in Knoxville inside Neyland Stadium. We'll have plenty of coverage of that this morning, plenty of discussion. Hope to get some lively phone calls in regards to the game as well. And I'll run down our lineup and itinerary here in just a second. First, though, I need to tell you, as always, this hour, the Gary Harris Show, being brought to you by Alabama Credit Union, member-owned and not-for-profit. It's just a better way of banking. I cruised over to Billy's last night in Northport after my early show to grab some dinner and saw the whole Alabama Credit Union gang hanging out there having dinner last night at Billy's Sports Grill in downtown Northport. Got to visit with those folks. Steve Swafford, my good friend, the CEO, and all the people there at the credit union, man, are just top notch, as good as they come. And love being associated with Alabama Credit Union. I'd love for you to become a member and find out for yourself all the great advantages of being a member at Alabama Credit Union. Find out more at alabamacu.com or get by and see them at one of their many locations around the great state of Alabama. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money. And put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, here's what we got lined up for you today at 9:30. Adam Amin, one of the best in the business, Fox Sports play-by-play broadcaster for NFL, football, and Major League Baseball, is going to join us at 9:30. He is set to work Lions and Vikings on Sunday, probably the top game in the NFL this weekend. And going to pick his brain about NFL and Major League Baseball. He worked the NL Divisional Series last week. He's back on NFL football this week, and can't wait to visit with Adam to break down NFL and Major League Baseball. He is going to be paired this week with Greg Olson and Pam Oliver on Fox for that Vikings-Lions game, which, as I said, is the top, I think, the top NFL game this weekend. And then at 10:30, it's the Auburn Report with Brett Pritchard. Auburn coming off a bye, 2-4 overall, 0-3 in the SEC. But even though Missouri was a top 10 team earlier this season, before getting worn out at Texas A&M, they're still a good team, but there are a lot of people who feel like Auburn's going to win this game on Saturday. So we'll ask Brett Pritchard about that. Also this morning, our Bama football trivia contest presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall, and giving away another great gift. We're going to do the contest at 10:30 this morning, and we're going to be giving away the Rocky Stop print from the 2005 Alabama-Tennessee game. Alabama won that one 6-3, and that's also going to be a tie-in for our trivia contest question. And that Rocky Stop print from Daniel Moore, beautiful. It's iconic. We're going to be giving that away at 10:30, courtesy of T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall. So get ready for Bama football trivia. You'll call in. If you have the right answer, we'll qualify you, and then we'll give away the print at the end of the show. Also, my SEC point spread predictions coming up. And as I said, I bounced back nicely last week at 5-2. So let me add up and see where I am for the season. I've gone 8-1, 3-6-1, 5-8, 6-4, 2-4, 1-5, and 5-2. So that's 11 wins, 16 wins, 22 wins, 24 wins, 25, 30 wins, 7, 15, 19, 23, 28 losses, and 1 tie. So I'm 30, 28, and 1, over 500 for my SEC point spread predictions. So I'll take that. And we'll have all the games we'll be picking today. 7 SEC football games I'll be picking coming up near the end of the show this morning. As I said, your phone calls are welcome on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline at 205-342-9904. As I said the other day, we used to do headlines a lot, but now we have Fox Sports headlines leading into my show, so I haven't been doing them as often, but I am going to talk about that incredible game last night between the Yankees and the Indians. Are they Indians? See, it's still easy to do it, right? The Yankees and the Guardians, the former Cleveland Indians, now the Cleveland Guardians. The Yankees led Cleveland 2-0 going into Game 3 of the ALCS, so it was pretty much a must-win for Cleveland. They led this baby 3-1 going to the top of the 8th. And the Yankees had 2 outs and nobody on. But I think it was Soto that drew a walk. And then Cleveland had their incredible closer in, but Judge touched him for a 2-run blast with 2 outs to tie in 2 strikes. It was a 1-2 count to tie it at 3-3. Then Stanton hit a solo shot to make it 4-3. So all of a sudden the Yankees were on top. Then in the top of the 9th, they added a run. So they led 5-3. And it looked like it was going to be over for the Guardians at that point. But that's what makes baseball, playoff baseball, so cool, is that the Guardians were down to their last out. In fact, they were down to their last strike. And with 2 outs and nobody out on, and down 5-3. I'm kind of trying to pull up the box score here. And they get a double off the wall. And then Noel, the pitch hitter, a rookie, absolutely crushed one to tie it at 5-5. They go to the 10th. The Guardians don't give up a run in the top half of the inning. And then in the bottom half of the inning, David Fry crushed a 2-run blast, and the Guardians win it 7-5. So the Guardians now are back in that series. Game 4 coming up. They are now just down 2-1 and have made a series out of it. Meanwhile, in the National League, the Dodgers now in total control of the NLCS as they took Game 4 at Citi Field 10-2. So they lead the National League Championship Series 3-1. So the Mets would have to win all 3 games. Dodgers only need one more win to move to the World Series. And, Yankees-Dodgers would be a classic World Series. That's for sure. Yankees-Mets would be the Subway Series. What I'm sure television executives don't want to see, unfortunately, because if they earn their way, they earn their way. But the TV people, I'm sure, do not want to see the Guardians in the World Series, because the Yankees against either the Dodgers or the Mets means major TV ratings. If the Guardians get in, those are going to slip. But the Guardians don't care about that. They're trying to get to the World Series. That's all they're concerned about, and I don't blame them. Last night, Thursday night NFL football, the Saints, of course, are banged up. I mean, they have injuries everywhere on their team. Everywhere. And including at quarterback, Rattler in for Carr, and the Broncos with Sean Payton, the Saints' former head coach, now the head coach in Denver, go into the Superdome last night and pace the Saints 33-10. So the Broncos have, after a slow start, are 4-3, and the Saints, after starting 2-0 and scoring nearly 100 points in their first 2 games combined, have lost 5 in a row now. That's how quickly fortunes can turn in the NFL. Saints now 2-5, and Dennis Allen, their head coach, on the hot seat, as we like to say. So, high school football coming up tonight, another Football Friday. Of course, I'll be anchoring our coverage on WVUA 23 beginning at 10:30 tonight, from 10:30 to 11:30. I think we're shooting for 15 games tonight, and we're getting late in the high school season. I mean, we are just a couple of weeks away, believe it or not, from the state playoffs beginning, and we've got teams that are battling for playoff spots, trying to win region championships. So high school football is full speed ahead as well. All right, let me bring in Chase Brumfeld for just a moment, because usually when I'm in the studio, I'm sitting there looking at Chase because he's just there in the control room. And when I'm on location like this, or like I was yesterday over at R&R Cigar Mansion, it's a little bit different. So let me bring Chase in to make sure he's ready to go this morning. Chase, you ready to go?
I am ready to go. How are you?
I'm tired. I'm not going to lie to you. It's been I think people know my schedule pretty well. It's long days, doing the radio in the morning, and then TV at night. And I get home usually around 11 or a little before, but last night I stayed late trying to work on the high school show, because I can't wait. I can't walk in on Friday and have that high school show waiting on me. It's just too much. So I have to try to get some stuff done in advance, and usually I'm better about getting some stuff done during the week. But this week I was out on Monday. I did radio, but I was out from TV on Monday because I've been working every Saturday. So I took a Monday off just to get a break, but it kind of put me behind. So last night I did not have much done. So in fact, I didn't have anything done. So I stayed after the 10 o'clock news last night and worked for a couple hours. So left about 12:30 and got home about 12:45, and tried to. Usually I'll stay up and wind down, but I went on and went to bed, but I lay there for a while anyway. So, a little tired, but in a minute here, I'm drinking water right now, but about halfway through the show, I'll get somebody here at Innisfree to pour me a Diet Pepsi over some ice and get a little caffeine in me, and I'll be good to go. But excited for what's ahead this weekend, and going to talk about it here on the show. Let me ask you this real quick, Chase. I'll be making my point spread predictions, and I've already said on Tider Insider TV this week I'm picking Alabama 24 and Tennessee 20. What's your prediction for Alabama and Tennessee? I haven't asked you this week. I don't know if anybody has. What do you got?
I've kind of stayed in the shadows with this one because I am so nervous for this game. I really think Alabama will pull out this game. I think they're tired of hearing the naysayers, a lot of the criticism. They're ready to shut out everybody and just play Alabama football. I have them winning 35-28.
Well, they would take that, and they would take 24-20, and they would take a win any way they could get it. I guarantee you, because if Alabama wins this game, everything's back on track. You know what I mean? Fans are happy again, and everybody's excited and fired up. You lose this game, and you're behind the eight ball. Before we hit the break, you've got your school, Mississippi State, hosting Texas A&M. Once again, Mississippi State is a huge underdog at home, but they were a big underdog last week at Georgia and played Georgia well, only lost by 10. They were 34-point underdog. They're an 18-point underdog at home tomorrow against Texas A&M. What do you think about the Bulldogs and the Aggies in the Battle of Maroon?
This is going to be a good game. A lot of people are kind of sleeping on it. I think Mississippi State gave Georgia a run for their money. I think if it would have had more firepower, we would have been talking about Georgia having an upset loss on the season. I do think Mississippi State will pull out the win. I saw a lot of good things from Mississippi State's offense that could probably propel them for next season and further under Jeff Lebby. But I have Mississippi State winning this one. Hail State, baby!
All right, brother. I hear you. All right, like I said, later in the show, too, we'll be giving away that Rocky Stop print. You can see it on my social media platforms on Twitter at Gary Harris _WVUA. And on Facebook, Gary Harris, WVUA 23. It is signed. It is ready for framing, and we're going to give that away at 10:30 this morning. All right, great show on tap. All right, Adam Amin coming up at 9:30. Excuse me. Like I said, I'm tired. Get those phone lines. I need to pep up. I need somebody to pep me up this morning. Get those phone lines going. Let's call in at 205-342-9904. Give me your score predictions. Give me your forecast for the weekend in terms of college football. Let's get it going. Let's crank it up this morning in this next segment. Get those phone lines ripped up this morning. I need to get going. I'm down here at Innisfree. Nobody here yet, but a reminder at 11 a.m. And since it's a road game, Lucky Lunch is going to be served today beginning at 11 a.m., that great Lucky Lunch special at Innisfree. All right, it's Fridays at the Free. I'm Gary Harris. We'll be back with more of the Gary Harris Show right after this on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Friday morning. Alabama has executed 36-year-old Gary Dearman. That was for the vicious murder of 5 people in 2016 and what he himself characterized as a meth-fueled rampage. He died at home in prison by a lethal injection at 6 p.m. last night. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage all throughout the day. It's absolutely free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meet and
CountryBuffet.com or call 205-810-8888. The all-new Child's Country Buffet opening soon on Skyland Boulevard. Join us for a meal to remember.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions, both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's Management Dream Team. Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The long dry spell continues through next week. A sunny sky today, the high 71. Clear tonight, not as cold as recent nights, the low 45. Tomorrow and Sunday, the sky's sunny both days, highs between 74 and 77. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 53 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to The Gary Harris Show.
Goal line in, touchdown, Alabama.
On your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9. And streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
It's the TGIF edition of the Gary Harris Show, coming to you live from Innisfree Irish Pub. Fridays at the Free. And yes, I understand that they're not open yet, but that's not stopping me. I'm here every Friday morning getting everything ready. 1925 University Boulevard, great location. Just right downtown, just up from the University Strip. So they open at 11 a.m., and they'll be ready to get the football weekend going with the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special, plus their regular menu, all of their great cocktails and draft beer and bottled beer and twisted iced tea, everything that they've got here ready to go. And usually when they open the doors at 11 on Friday, people are waiting to pile in. So we're glad to be here this morning for Fridays at the Free. I was hoping people would light the phones up a little bit this morning. A little disappointed. I was wanting some interaction here before we get to Adam Amin, but that's okay. If you do call in, Chase will punch you through at 205-342-9904 on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. All right, thoughts on the game tomorrow? As I said, and I talked to a friend of mine last night who has some really good insight into Alabama football, and I told him I picked at 24-20 Alabama on Tider Insider TV, and I took a little pushback because the defense, has struggled, giving up points and getting off the field. I feel like the defense is going to rise up on Saturday. I really do. And he told me that he didn't think I was off base. He felt like that the defense was going to play well too. And look at Tennessee the last couple of weeks. They've struggled offensively against Arkansas and against Florida. And I just feel like this game is going to be a little bit lower scoring than what people are thinking. Even the over-under, let me pull that up here. The over-under for Alabama and Tennessee is at 56.5. So, and here I am sitting here picking it to go 44 points. But my reasoning, again, is that I do think Alabama is going to make a concerted effort to run the football. I don't know that they're necessarily going to play as fast-paced as they have in some games. And I think that Tennessee also is going to run the football, particularly with Iamaleava struggling some the last couple of games. Their freshman quarterback, well, I guess technically he's a sophomore, but he hadn't played a lot. And so I feel like this game is going to be more of a traditional type football game. Now, I could be totally wrong, but that's my thinking. That's why I'm picking it 24-20. And I just got to, again, feelings mean nothing. I always used to make fun of people. Well, I got a feeling. Well, what's that matter? We got no control over it. But I do have that feeling. I got a feeling that the defense has been challenged, that I think they've tweaked some things in terms of schematics, and I think this Alabama defense is going to make a statement that they're not what they have been the last couple of weeks. I think they're going to do a better job of getting off the field on third down, and I think that they're really going to make a statement in regards to how this football game is played and how this football game is won. So that's my reasoning, that's my logic behind Alabama winning this game 24-20 and only 44 points being scored. Now, Chase, what did you have it again? You had 35-28, what'd you say?
Yes, sir, 35-28.
All right. There's nothing wrong with that either. I mean, Alabama fans wouldn't care if, we had that game 51-49 2 years ago, and the only problem was Alabama came out on the wrong end. Or 52-49. Alabama should have won that football game, and they didn't. So, and you got 100 points in that game. Fans, they won't care if you win at 45-44, or you win at 24-20, or you win at 13-10. Fans want to win in this game for bragging rights, for 17 out of 18, and for what it means for Alabama going forward. If Alabama loses this game, I've said it all week, they're not done by any means. You could still finish 10-2, and I feel confident that Alabama, with the schedule that it plays, if it goes 10-2, is going to be in the playoff. But your margin for error would be gone, completely gone. So it's a huge game. I mean, there's no other way around it. And then the game next week against Missouri is a huge game. And then you have the bye, and the game at LSU is a huge game. That's the way it works in the SEC. You win one week, you got to turn around and win the next week. And this is not unlike and this is what I was talking with my friend about last night. This is not unlike what Alabama went through last year in Coach Saban's final year. After that early loss to Texas and that poor performance against South Florida, it was, grinding out wins, grinding out a win over Ole Miss, and grinding out a win over Arkansas, and grinding out some of these wins, and had to grind out that win in the Iron Bowl. You're just trying to find a way to win every week, and ultimately they did that. And you look up and they're 11-1, and they're playing Atlanta, and in Atlanta against Georgia, and for the SEC championship, in a game that they were a heavy underdog, but they won that game. And then the next thing you know, you're SEC champions. You're in the college football playoff at the Rose Bowl against Michigan, and you lose a heartbreaker in overtime against the Wolverines. But still, phenomenal season, but it was a grind every week. And that's what it's going to be for this team. You just got to find a way to try to grind out a win, regardless of who the opponent is. Just win that game that Saturday. And if you keep stacking those wins, you're going to be in good shape. All right, it is 9:27. We're going to go ahead and get to our break, because when we come back on the other side, Adam Amin from Fox Sports, one of the top play-by-play broadcasters in the business, is going to join me to talk NFL and MLB. We'll do that next, right here on the Gary Harris Show.
This is Old Colony Golf Course, is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure
9 North in Northport, just before Carroll's Creek Baptist Church. Sponsored by Cypress Supply, Military Surplus R Us, Junction Grocery, and Northwest Supply.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with
great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Visit alabamacu.com to learn more. Some rules and restrictions apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour specials. And for the best Mexican cuisine in West Alabama, remember, the name is Los Tarascos with locations in Tuscaloosa and Northport.
Alabama Crimson Tide lives right here.
Down to the pylon. Touchdown, Alabama.
On Tide 100.9.
All right, 9:31. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. Fridays at the Free. I'm live at Innisfree Irish Pub, downtown University Boulevard. They open at 11 a.m., but I'm here getting the weekend kicked off. And I want to apologize to Roland and Robbie. I missed that you guys were on the line, but call back in the next hour, and we'll get you on. Right now, it's time for Adam Amin, one of the best play-by-play broadcasters in the business, Fox Sports, MLB, and NFL. And, boy, he has quite an assignment this weekend. Good morning, Adam. How are you?
Doing well, my friend. How are you doing?
Great. There's some great NFL. We'll get to MLB League Championship Series in a moment. But we'll start with NFL. We got a rematch of the Super Bowl with the Chiefs and the 49ers, some really other great matchups. But I think you've got you and Greg Olson and Pam Oliver have the best game of the weekend with Lions-Vikings. The NFC North is loaded, and the Lions have one loss. The Vikings are unbeaten. Minneapolis, 12 p.m. Central kick on Sunday. You've got the call, and I know you got to be biting at the bit for this one.
Yeah, this is about as good of a game as you could ask for at this point of the season. You're about, 40% of the way through, just about almost, closing in on the halfway point, and you start to ask questions about teams around this time of year, right? Like, is this team for real? Is this team for real? And you get these type of test games for a team like Minnesota that won 7 games a year ago, that had much different plans for what their season was going to look like this year, certainly at the quarterback position. And with, 5 games down and a trip to London in the rearview mirror, they're 5-0. And they have – I went into this season feeling like I had a lot of questions about the Vikings, and I still do. It's not as if I don't. I still think this team has a lot of question marks around it, but less so than before. And more importantly, they have played in a style and in a manner that really complements their personnel, especially on the defensive end. Brian Flores has done a great job with the pressure packages. I thought on the offensive end, Kevin O'Connell has done a masterful job of getting Sam Darnold comfortable. They have a lot of weapons. Their run game is a lot different this year with Aaron Jones. He's played well when he's been in the lineup. Obviously got hurt in London, but should be good to go, I think, this weekend. But this is a test. This is the first real test, I think, for a Minnesota team. They played, some good opponents, but I feel like this is a really good test at this point of the year to take on a Detroit team that's looking as sharp as any in the NFL. The 89 points the last 2 games. They demolished Dallas last week. They look good before the bye. They look good after the bye. They're the most creative offensive team. This is one of the premier first half of the season matchups. We're thrilled that we get a chance to call it on Sunday.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's stay with the Vikings for a moment because, as you alluded to, they had different plans at quarterback with J.J. McCarthy, their first-round pick out of Michigan. He goes down with a meniscus tear in the preseason, and it's Sam Darnold time. And I know you feel the same way, there's a reason these guys are picked as high as Sam Darnold was picked. The talent is there. For whatever reason, it's hard to play quarterback in the National Football League. You're dependent a lot of times on the players around you, and it didn't happen for him. He's flashed at times, but, kind of viewed obviously as a backup there in Minnesota. Next thing you know, not only is he managing the offense, he's making plays, and he has blossomed for this Minnesota team. Your observations of him, if you think it can continue, and is he good enough and talented enough to potentially take this Vikings team all the way to the Super Bowl?
It's really hard for me to go that deep because, again, the things that you and I have talked about over the years when it comes to guys that are now labeled as, whether fairly or unfairly, but labeled as kind of backup quarterbacks, right? This is a high draft pick, number 3 pick, about 6 years ago that, ran into a bad situation. I don't think anybody would tell you that the Jets have a, seamless track record of developing young talent. That certainly has not been the case over the years. So I think part of that was the environment he was in. It was not a great organization to get thrown into and have that pressure on him. Listen, Aaron Rodgers is having trouble with it now, and we're seeing some of the drama that's taken place with the Jets just in these last few weeks. So, the organizational structure wasn't particularly good for Sam. Then you have to go earn your stripes elsewhere. He goes to Carolina. He goes to San Francisco. He's a backup there. He performs well on tape, good enough to get a solidified backup job. And then you have to be ready. And he was ready. J.J. McCarthy gets hurt. And I think Kevin O'Connell is one of the best play callers in the league. I think he has a great mind and eye for how to get the most out of his talent. I think they had a lot of issues last season. They had injury issues over the course of the year last year, but they still won 7 games. So now you get a quarterback that's willing to do different things, that already had a built-in skill set that's great for this style of offense with a little bit of speed, with multiple weapons on the outside, and has an established running game. It's amazing what can happen when you have an offensive line that's played together for a little while, when you have a running back that comes in that has a lot of talent like Aaron Jones, when you have what, the Lions are calling Justin Jefferson as they prepare for this game. Aaron Glenn, we talked to him yesterday, the defensive coordinator, he says he thinks Justin Jefferson's the best receiver in the NFL, and they've got weapons behind him. So, it's amazing what happens when you go into a good situation, when you have talent, when you have to do things that NFL quarterbacks need to do, and then you get a little bit of help around you. That it's an amazing thing. I think Chicago's dealing with that. I think there are a lot of teams in the NFL that would say that they're dealing with similar or near identical circumstances. So I give Sam a lot of credit for being ready, but I think a lot of this is the opportunity and the talent around him, and now he's really making the most of it. So I think he can take this team to the Super Bowl. We're still, we're still only a third of the way in, basically. We still got a long way to go, so it's hard for me to say that just yet. But I do believe that there is something here for this team to be competitive as the season continues to wear on, and not get out of it by the time we get to the last quarter of the season.
On the other side, and as I said at the top, this is a loaded division. Everybody's good, and your Bears are making a statement with Caleb Williams. But I think the Lions are the best team. I thought they should have gone to the Super Bowl last year. But they lose Aiden Hutchinson, and he is a dynamic pass rusher. We know how important those guys are. Are they a little short? I keep thinking they might try to, make a deal for another guy to come off the edge. But what does that do to their defense not having him?
It's so hard to lose somebody like him. He's, as close to an irreplaceable player as I think you might have in the NFL. Since he came in, he's been anytime you get a guy that's line item number 1 on an opposing scouting report, obviously that indicates the level of impact that he has, right? And Aiden Hutchinson has that type of gravitational impact where every offensive coordinator, every offensive line coach is going into a week playing Detroit saying, how do we stop this guy off the edge? How do we make sure that we double him, that we chip him, whatever we need to do? Take that element away. In so many of these games, it's one guy gets free, they bring a blitz, on a pressure package. That one guy who gets free impacts the rest of the play. Maybe he doesn't get to the quarterback, but he hurries him. Maybe he pressures him. Maybe he forces an errant throw. Maybe he gets a hand on a ball. And suddenly you're putting your defense in more opportune positions to get turnovers. And this is a possession-based league, and turnovers are like gold. So, to not have somebody as that play to play, and this guy's just about an every down player, to lose somebody like that is very difficult to come back from. Now you have to lean on team, talent, depth. And those are things that I believe the Lions have, but am I under the impression that they're going to go out and certainly test the market and try to find another pass rusher before the trade deadline? Yes, I think you have to. This is a team that's clearly good enough to make it to the Super Bowl. I agree with you, Gary. I think they were good enough to make it last year. They're good enough to do it again this year. Their offense is playing at an incredibly high level, and I think their defense has gotten better. Their secondary is excellent. Brian Branch, as you guys know, watching him in his college days, he is just an outstanding young player. He's one of my favorite defensive players to watch in this league. He's so flexible and versatile. He can play multiple positions. Kirby Joseph's had a great start to this third season for him. I mean, he's playing great football. They've got excellent linebackers. Alex Anzalone's their captain. He's kind of stepped in to that vocal leadership role for Hutchinson. They've got all the talent in the world, and I think it would be, an interesting move. I don't know if you make a phone call to the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't know if if there are a couple of pass rushers around the league, whether it's Max Crosby or somebody else. You try to bring this guy, bring somebody to Detroit to fill that gap for the remainder of the year. But their defense will certainly be impacted. They'll have to lean on their depth and their scheme to try to make things hard on Sam Darnold.
Yeah, Adam, I'm glad you brought up Branch because I was going to ask you about him, but you covered it. Yeah, he just does everything in that secondary. Last week, 2 picks and a forced fumble. All right, let's get to the other marquee game, or one of the other marquee games, certainly the Super Bowl rematch. 49ers, it's been a grind, but we know they're a good team. And the Chiefs, every time I watch them play, I'm like, man, they don't look like the Chiefs, but they hadn't lost a game. I guess that's the beauty of how good that team is, that you feel like they're not playing well, or at least I do, and they haven't lost. So you get the Super Bowl rematch. Handicap that matchup for us.
Man, Kansas City's ability to get out of situations that they find themselves in late game spots and continuously put pressure on defenses is still impressive to me. They're still a dangerous team. Their depth isn't what it was. Their talent isn't what it was. They're a little bit older. They've been banged up this year, whether it's at the receiver position, whether it's on defense. They've dealt with some injury issues, but their talent level at the quarterback position is just so high that they're never out of a game. The Niners, they've had kind of similar. It's interesting to see how similar these teams are after the long playoff run last year. I think it took a lot out of both teams. The Niners have had some injuries. Obviously, the McCaffrey situation has been frustrating. Getting Brandon Ayuk on the same page as Brock Purdy after skipping out of the preseason. I think Trent Williams was a little slow out of the gate after his holdout in the preseason. But I still feel like these are two of the most deep, talented teams in the NFL. San Francisco's depth is what's going to get them right back in contention in a division that is very open. They're still going to be in position at the end of the season, I think, to win the division because of their depth. And, the war of attrition, I think they're still in position to win. I'm not sure how you get to Brock Purdy. I think Chris Jones, just like he did in the Super Bowl, is probably going to be. I said going into the Super Bowl last year that Chris Jones was the most important player other than Patrick Mahomes, because he impacts the game in a major way. That we were just talking about what Aiden Hutchinson does. This is very similar. If you can block Chris Jones, you can give Brock Purdy protection. If you can't block Chris Jones and he is able to impact the run game and get after the quarterback the way he has been able to, then I think it's a long day for San Francisco, a team that's still trying to find its way. 3-3. This is a key game for them. But that division is still going to be pretty wide open as we get further and further along. And I would say a similar thing about the Chiefs. I think the division is going to be pretty open for them as they kind of trudge. It's going to be a little bit more of a choppy ride en route to the playoffs, I think, for both of these teams than it has been in the last couple of years.
AFC East was interesting last week because we saw the Jets and the Bills play on Monday night, and Bills got the win. Jets had so many opportunities in that game, and just, whether it was missed field goals or drop balls or whatever it was, they didn't win the game. But we could see that both these teams, Aaron Rodgers always wants playmakers. Let's start with the Jets. Davante Adams. We knew this was coming. Amazing how quickly the hamstring healed when he got to New York. But what does this do for this Jets team? Because they know offensively, they just haven't been great. And Rodgers hasn't been great. But he brings in a guy who was a dynamic playmaker for him in Green Bay. Does it change that team substantially, having Davante Adams with the Jets now?
I think substantially might be a little strong. I do think it changes them, and it certainly makes them better. Rodgers is very reliant on institutional knowledge, I think, for his success. Somebody like Aaron, who's just had so much experience, he really leans on his experience to think a defensive coordinator, and he's phenomenal at it. He really is. He's a sharp football player. He's got a great, idea of what a defense is going to try to do to him and how he counteracts that. I think he's very good at that. And part of the frustrations for Rodgers, really over the course of the last, I would say 4 years, maybe even 5 years, since we've had, some exodus in Green Bay with some of the talent, whether it was on the offensive line, whether it was in the backfield, and more importantly at wide receiver, he's looking for playmakers. He was brought in to kind of inject a young, fresh offense with some wisdom and experience. And obviously that didn't happen last year when he got hurt a few minutes into the season. It's been a rough go at times trying to get this group moving in a direction of traction. It's been a lot of one step forward, one step back for them, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, sometimes 2 steps back. And they've really struggled to gain traction. It's looked good one week. It's been a slog a lot of weeks offensively. But some of that is accounted by the receivers and by the pass catchers and guys who don't make the type of play that Davante Adams over the course of a long career has consistently made. And he did a lot of that for Rodgers in Green Bay. So the fact that they have this tandem back together certainly bodes well for New York. I think this is a good opportunity for them to hit the reset button and see how these other guys can maybe work around Davante Adams' skill set. And just the reliability is what Aaron Rodgers, I think, is looking for. Anytime you talk to him, he's always, looking for that consistency and reliability. His talent is still there. His wherewithal has not gone away. He's still a sharp guy. But do I think Adams makes them a Super Bowl contender or a playoff contender? Not yet. But I think it certainly makes them better in a position where, they can be a little bit more consistent and maybe be a little bit more aggressive on offense because of the things that Adams can do that, frankly, just other receivers on that roster either can't do or haven't had the prerequisite time and experience to be able to develop that skill set to do.
The Bills countered, and I think Buffalo's still clearly the favorite in the AFC East, but offensively, losing Stephon Diggs, I think everybody was ready for him to move on. They're not as dynamic. They go out and get Amari Cooper, who the last couple of years have been great for Cleveland, was not having a good season this year. Of course, if you play wide receiver with Deshaun Watson, can you have a good season? But, I think it's a nice pickup for them. They don't have to hardly pay him any money. The Browns are on the hook for the salary, and we know what he's capable of. We know he's got 62 career touchdown catches. How big is this for the Bills? Because Josh Allen's numbers as a passer are way down this year.
Yeah, they are down, but I do think he's spreading the ball around a little bit more. And I feel like Cooper is the right type of addition at the right time for this group. I feel that without Diggs, who, let's be honest, demands the ball, needs the ball to really be as effective as he believes he is and can be, certainly. And listen, we've seen it in Houston, right? Like, he has become a good target for C.J. Stroud. But I think in Buffalo, it was so dependent on Diggs. And this year, without that kind of looming overhead, Josh Allen has just said, I'm going to throw to the open guy. Whoever's open, I'm going to get the ball to them. And, not having Gabe Davis is a big impact, too. I was very concerned with who Josh Allen's going to throw the ball to. And again, our defense is exposing it a little bit. Are they exploiting, the lack of separation with some of the receivers? Yeah. But I do think that he's got guys, whether it's Shakir in the slot, whether it's Keon Coleman, he has guys to throw to. He's got a couple of good tight ends. I think this is a really necessary addition for Buffalo. Is Amari at the elite level that we've seen him in years past? I'm not sure. Because of the stint in Cleveland, I'm with you, Gary. It's really hard to gauge how good this guy can be again when you look at the quarterback position that he's had the last couple of years. I mean, Deshaun Watson and getting subs in there, whether it was Jacoby Brissett or whoever has stepped in to play for Cleveland the last couple of seasons. That's been a tough go for a player like Cooper, who's had really good seasons in his NFL career, and I believe he can have good years again. I think this will be a welcome change for both, for Allen and the Bills offense, and certainly a welcome change for Amari Cooper, who's got to be ecstatic just to get out of Cleveland, immediately go to a contender, immediately go to a team that has a legitimate shot, as you said, and I agree with you, to win a Super Bowl. I think this will be great for both sides. I think Cooper needed it, and I think another weapon for Allen that does have some veteran experience, a little bit more like we talked about with Adams, reliability. I think that's a big boon for what Buffalo's trying to do.
All right, I saved a couple minutes for Major League Baseball. What a game last night with the Guardians and the Yankees. A game the Guardians absolutely had to have. It looked like they had it in hand with one of the best closers coming in to get a 4-out save. 2 outs, nobody on. Soto draws a walk. Judge bangs one over the right field wall. Then Stanton hits a solo shot. The Yankees had a run in the 9th, and it looks like it's over for the Guardians. They're going to go down 3-0. Nobody out. Nobody on, 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. They get a double. They get the Noel the pinch hit home run, and then David Fry wins it in the 10th. I mean, it was as good a postseason baseball game with what's on the line as you're going to see, and good for Cleveland. And we know that TV executives want the Yankees in the World Series against either the Dodgers or the Mets, and the Guardians stood up and said, "Not so fast. We're not going to go down without a fight."
What a great game, and what a great comeback. And I've been watching this Cleveland team all season long, and they've had a season of unsung heroes, and I've said this multiple times over the course of the last 2 months of the season. You know, I talked to Stephen Vogt in September, and he said we asked him before a game. I think Adam Wainwright was in the room with us, and he asked who's been the unsung hero for you guys. And he goes, David Fry, no question. A guy who got hurt, was an all-star in the first half, then got hurt, was pretty much relegated to designated hitting. You know, they kept the third catcher essentially on their roster as a DH in Fry because he's a guy that they love in that clubhouse and that delivers in big moments, and he's done it twice now in the postseason. So I'm really not shocked, but I'm certainly impressed with what this Stephen Vogt-led group is doing. Vogt is my choice for American League Manager of the Year. That was the case before the season was over. I think that's a really tough group that grinds out at bats. Every time you see them, they're grinding out another at bat. And the difference this year is that their power was up because they changed their approach a little bit earlier in counts. And it's really paid dividends. They've got power in their lineup. I'm not saying that they have guys that you just look at and go, we're super scared of this guy. We got to avoid him. But that's what makes them dangerous because it is any night, any player on that roster feels like they have a chance to do something to help their team win. And that's been a sum of the parts type of team all season long. You know, Ramirez is a star, and Aaron Boone said as much, and I agree with him. I'm guilty of saying the things that Aaron Boone accused us of. Like, if I hear another guy on a network saying, man, is Jose Ramirez underappreciated and this and that, I was like, you know what? Guilty as charged. I've said that before on national TV. I admit that. But that group is really impressive, and Fry is one of the guys that Stephen Vogt has talked about all second halves, that he's an unsung hero. He makes big moments happen for us in a role that has at times diminished because of the injury stuff. What a performance, and that's a great series. And yeah, I'm not telling any tales out of school, Gary, if I say, man, you know what TV executives would like? The 2 biggest markets in the country represented in the World Series. You're not saying anything too new, nor am I, but it's fair. Like, I think, you know, everybody would love to see Judge and Soto against Ohtani and Betts in a World Series. I would love to watch that. I think that's theater, just as a baseball fan. But the Guardians are great TV. The Guardians are a great team. And they've had plenty of moments like this. And don't forget, their story is as good as anybody's in the league. They have the longest drought, 1948. They're trying to end that. They came so close in 2016. And, you know, my father's beloved Cubs came back in that series to win it. But that's a great story as an individual team this year in 2024 and as a franchise trying to do something they haven't done in, about 3/4 of a century.
And in our last minute on the other side, the Dodgers were my pick going into the playoffs to win the World Series. I think they're the best team. Great run for the Mets. And it's not over. But it's 3-1. Sure. You mentioned Ohtani. I mean, the Dodgers just, when they're on, and I know you can say star power wise, the Yankees can match them, but this Dodgers team, when they're getting the pitching, and they're something, they're a load, Adam. That's a really good team.
Sure is. And their pitching figured it out at the right time. You know, and then often that is the case for a lot of these championship caliber teams, right? It's over the course of 162 games, you know, the best teams usually make their way to the playoffs. But when you get to the postseason with these smaller sample size, these pressure packed, in particular, if you're a wild card team and, you know, you have to win 2 out of 3 potentially on the road. If you're in a division series and you're suddenly in a best 3 out of 5, if your hitting goes dead at the wrong time or your bullpen arms suddenly can't find the strike zone, then it doesn't matter how good you were during the regular season, right? You're seeing the Dodgers at the right time find the bats. Not that was a major concern because of guys like Ohtani and Betts. And they've got one of the highest payrolls in professional sports. We're not going to feel sorry for them when they go when those bats go silent. Right. But the pitching staff has been a question all year, in particular that bullpen. And the last few seasons, the bullpen has been one of concern. But it's guys like Evan Phillips and Alex Vesia who were maligned at times a couple of years ago when this team was trying to make a deep playoff run and was expected to make the World Series at worst, if not win the whole thing. And their arms gave up big runs late in games. They did it last year. They did it against San Diego a couple of years ago. That's been a problem for the Dodgers. So for them to find their pitching at the right time, seemingly, and that bullpen had that long streak, the pitching staff in general had this long streak before Game 3. They found something at the right time, and they're playing their best baseball from a team that we expected it from. Like, we're not saying that this is some kind of Cinderella story. This is a team that should have been playing well, and they're finding their good stuff at the right time of the season, at the right time of the postseason when they need it.
Adam, as always, an awesome segment. We can't wait to watch you on the call with Vikings and Lions at noon on Sunday on Fox. And enjoy the ball game and have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
All right, it's 9:57, and we're going to go ahead and close out this first hour as Chase is going to do me a favor and double up these breaks. So when we come back on the other side, we'll be into hour number 2. Auburn reporter Brett Pritchard coming up at 10:30, plus Bama football trivia presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall, giving away that Daniel Moore signed print Rocky Stop. And your phone calls. We're going to have a good second hour live from Innisfree Irish Pub, Fridays at the Free, downtown Tuscaloosa. Hour number 2 is coming up.
Already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after-hours. 100% satisfaction and appointments set around your schedule. Give us a call for all your steam cleaning needs, 205-553-9460. Houston Hydro Steam. Quality work you can stand on.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Monsi Bolaños.
The NFL Network is reporting that 49ers running back Jordan Mason's status for Week 7 against the Chiefs is up in the air because of the sprained AC joint that he suffered last week. Patriots quarterback Drake May, who's been on the injury report with a knee injury, told the media that he's ready to go for Sunday, but no further details on the injury were disclosed. Week 7 of the NFL kicked off with Thursday Night Football as the Broncos took down the Saints 33-10. Saints cornerback Paulson Adebo suffered a broken femur. ESPN reports that he underwent successful surgery this morning. Recovery is considered to be about 4 to 5 months. In baseball, the Guardians walked it off against the Yankees in Game 3 of the ALCS with a 7-5 win. Game 4 is later today from Cleveland at 8 Eastern Time. While the Dodgers
changes within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show right here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. Live from Innisfree Irish Pub, part of Fridays at the Free. And would love for you to swing by. You could get in a little early if you want to. Just come around the side door and slip in. Can't eat or drink until 11, but I'm here and my show goes until 11. And then they'll open the doors and people will fill in and we'll get ready for a football weekend, even though the third Saturday in October matchup between Tennessee and Alabama is in Knoxville this year. It's still going to be a dynamic setup for the weekend here in Tuscaloosa at Innisfree Irish Pub, 1925 University Boulevard. All right, in this second hour, we got the Auburn Report with Brett Pritchard at 10:30. That's also when we'll do our Bama football trivia contest presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall. I'll ask the question. You'll call in to Chase there on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline at 205-342-9904. Give him the answer. If the answer is correct, people will message us on the app. Some people message me on social media, and if I see it and get to it and you have the right answer, we'll qualify you that way as well. Had 30 qualifiers last week for that Trent Richardson Iron Bowl print by Steve Skipper that we gave away from the 2011 Iron Bowl. And we've got the Rocky Stop print from the 2005 Bama-Tennessee game by Daniel Moore to give away this week, courtesy of T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall. All right, phone lines are open, 205-342-9904. I know we had a couple callers there in the first hour that I didn't get to because I didn't see that you guys were there. So Roland, Robbie, both of y'all, if you want to call back or anyone else, you can get through. Also want to mention that Wyatt is not going to be at Innisfree today. He is heading on up to Knoxville today for coverage there for Tide 100.9 FM for T-Town Sports Daily. So he will not be here at Innisfree today, but looking forward to his coverage from Knoxville. That is for sure. All right, back to these SEC matchups this weekend. And again, I'll give my point spread predictions toward the end of the show after we do Brett Pritchard and before we do our Bama football trivia roulette wheel spin to get a winner. But some interesting matchups. Obviously, Alabama-Tennessee is the game that we've been focused on, but you and I both know that there are a lot of other good games in the SEC. Headlined, of course, as big as Alabama and Tennessee is, it's not the marquee matchup in the SEC on Saturday. It's not. The marquee matchup is Georgia at Texas, and I'm sitting here looking at that Texas -5. And I've been saying all week I like Texas, but I still have not circled that one. I still have not made a pick on that game. In fact, there's several of these games that I'm hung up on. I've already made a pick on Alabama at Tennessee. I've already made a pick for A&M at Mississippi State, LSU at Arkansas, Kentucky at Florida, and Ball State at Vanderbilt. I have not made picks yet for Auburn at Missouri. Mizzou's -4. Georgia at Texas. Texas is -5. And South Carolina at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's 1.5 favorite in that game. I have not made picks for any of those games because it's just all of those I can see either or outcomes. So I'm holding off on making those picks. And as I said, in addition to Alabama and Tennessee, which is the 2:30 game on ABC tomorrow afternoon, the rest of the SEC schedule, let me pull it up here with the times to run them down for you. And Chase, if we get a phone call, just shoot me a text and let me know. I'm going to run down these SEC games for tomorrow and the TV and the times and get everybody ready there. Auburn at Missouri, that is the 11 a.m. game on ESPN. That's a heck of a good 11 a.m. game. I will tell you that. That's a heck of a good 11 a.m. game on ESPN. And again, Missouri is a 4-point favorite in that one. South Carolina at Oklahoma, 11:45 on the SEC network. That is a Oklahoma 1.5-point favorite line. As we mentioned, Alabama at Tennessee. Alabama's a 3-point favorite. A&M at Mississippi State. That is going to be a 3:15 game on the SEC network. And A&M's an 18-point favorite. LSU at Arkansas, 6 o'clock on ESPN. LSU's a 3-point favorite. Ball State at Vanderbilt, 6 p.m. on SEC Network. That is a Vandy 26.5-point favorite. I'll talk more about that game when I do my picks. That's a game to me that's going to test whether or not Vanderbilt's for real. I'll explain later why. Georgia at Texas, that's the primetime game on ABC, 6:30, and that is Texas. Texas has dropped to 4.5, I see, so I can make an adjustment there. I had it 5, it's down to 4.5, and you've got Kentucky and Florida, 6:45 on the SEC Network, and Kentucky is a 1.5-point favorite in Gainesville. All right, let's see here. I think we've got a phone call, and we do. We got Robbie on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline. Hey, Robbie, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, Gary. Tried to call in. I felt bad you're sitting there by yourself, but you left me hanging.
You texted me and said you sounded lonely. I am lonely because, I'm it is free. They're not open yet. And, what's weird is when it's a home game, there's so much buzz And you've been by. You came by one morning. You know, when it's a home game, even when they're not open yet, there's a lot of buzz. But when it's a road game, it's a little bit different vibe. So I'm sitting here by myself and didn't have any callers, and I was feeling a little bit lonely. So appreciate you calling in.
I got no problem. But, yeah, if I was sitting there, I'd be still trying to grab a Guinness right now. That's for sure. That always goes down well. But, yeah, I'm on the fence like everybody right now. Just this game tomorrow, I'm hoping – I thought last week would be the statement game that Bama showed up mad and proved they're still the best, and just, they won. That's the main thing, but it wasn't pretty. So going to Tennessee, I hope this is the game we show up and we dominate, but, I got to see it. I'm thinking more of a 23-21 win now, or 24-21. So, but I'll take it. I'll take the win, but I just hope we show up and we beat them. That's all. We don't like Tennessee around here.
Yeah, that's the bottom line, Robbie. You said it. I said earlier, I've had, some people are picking it in the 40s. I got a lower scoring game. I got a 24-20, but you don't care. If you're a Bama fan, and whether it's 13-10 or if it's 45-42, just get the W, because if you get the W, not only do you win 17 of the last 18 against the Vols, you set yourself up to go ahead and I don't know if you heard me earlier, but I was talking with a friend of mine who's in the building over there last night, and we were talking about the fact that the grind this year is really not any different than last year. After they lost that game to Texas and didn't play well against South Florida, it was a grind, to win against Ole Miss and to win against Tennessee and to win against Arkansas. But if you just keep finding a way to win each week, that's what it's about now in this league, Robbie. I mean, now Texas looks like, we'll find out more about them tomorrow night, but Texas looks like, to me, the best team in the SEC. But most of these games every week are going to be a grind. The Iron Bowl last year. I mean, Alabama got to 11-1 and got to Atlanta, but they could have lost. Hang on just a second, Robbie. Taylor, somebody's at the door there, just by the way. But anyway, I'm doing a little housekeeping here, Robbie. So,
I hear you.
It's a grind. It's a grind every week to get these wins. So you just find a way to try to win tomorrow, and then you'll try to find a way to win next week against Missouri, man. That's what it's all about, winning the game. I think that's something that I've been told by some people that are involved in the program is, like, man, DeBoer called a little heat for smiling after the game last week, and I was told they're right, man. Why would he smile? That was a big win, Robbie. Can you imagine if Alabama had lost that game? It
would have been bad, but we got spoiled with Saban. There was no.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if we were winning by 56 or winning by 3. He was serious, and he's still teaching and trying to get them ready for the next play, and so we missed that. And I wish some of the guys would go back. The DeBoer era is getting more of the NIL and letting these guys play loose and have a little fun, and that's great. But we also need to bring it back and be so focused that we're not beating ourselves on a lot of these. And but again, just win the game. That's the name of the game. Let's win and get ready for Missouri at home. Don't know the time of that game yet, do we? Is that a night game?
No, it has not been announced yet. It has not been announced yet. TV and time has not been announced. You're talking about Saban with a joyless murder ball, it was called at times. Funny thing popped up in my memories on Facebook. 10 years ago this weekend, Alabama hosted Texas A&M. Do you remember what the score was at halftime?
Texas A&M, no, I do not.
It was 45-0 at halftime.
Oh. Nice.
You forget because there were all the games that were huge, but some of the beat downs that Saban put on some of these teams in the SEC. And what would happen is, I remember the Iron Bowl in 2012. It was 42-0 at half. More times than not, when he would have a 40-something point lead at half or whatever. And, give him credit. That's he wasn't interested in running up the score. There were games where Alabama could have beat people. Honestly, Robbie, could have beat people 80-0. They could have.
Yeah,
and and they would wind up winning 63-7 or 55-3. And in the second half, he wasn't interested. He was just interested in getting the game over. But you look back at some of the games they played in the SEC and some of the scores they had at halftime, you just don't see that in this league. Whether it was 45-0 or 42-0. Of course, I remember that year at Vandy. Same type thing. I think they scored nearly, 50 points in the first half. He had games where, literally could have scored. But, he never is that shows you Saban's greatness. He never scored 70 points in a game. and could have numerous times. But that he wasn't interested in that. He was just interested in getting the win and moving on.
I'll tell you what, Gary, when we had the receivers we had that year, I want to say it was when we were running those points, we could have, like you said, put a 70 or 100 with Judy, Ruggs, Smith, and all that. You couldn't stop those guys. And then we had the running game. Like, man, there was no way we could put points up on anybody.
You know, and we're getting off the point here, but it is a good point. SEC fans that complain about Alabama, complain about Saban, they ought to be rejoicing. They're very lucky that the only thing that's surprising about Saban is he didn't win more national championships. Robbie, and I'm being honest.
Yep.
I mean, you look from 2008 through, say, 2020, Alabama could have won 10 or 11 national championships. In 2008, they got knocked out in the SEC championship game by that great Tebow team. And Tebow, led Florida 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. 2009, they won it. 2010, they were plenty talented enough, but that was the first time having to deal with success. They wound up losing 3 games. 2011, they won it. 2012, they won it. 2013, they got kicked sixth, or they'd have won it again. 2014, they got knocked out by Ohio State in the first 14 playoff. 2015, they won it. 2016 was the 14-0 season with Jalen, remember, and the pick play by Clemson, and the fact that Kiffin had left and Sark was calling the plays after he'd had Kiffin for 14 games. They lost it that year. 2017, they won it. 18, they made it to the championship game. 19, they didn't make the playoff. 20, they won it. 21, they played for it. 22, they had 2 losses, but on the final play of the game to LSU. And then last year, made it all the way to the playoff. I mean, Saban could have won 10 or 11 national titles, Robbie, just as easy as he won those 6. So if you wanted to be critical of Saban, you could say, if you wanted to be critical of Saban, you could say, why didn't you win more, Coach? Why didn't you win more national championships? Yeah. I mean, they were so dominant.
He didn't focus enough. They were dominant. We got spoiled. And, this team still is dominant. We see the players, and we see how they can play like we did against that first half against Georgia. But it's like that everywhere. I mean, Georgia's not running away with it, killing people. Tennessee's definitely not. Like, there's just a lot of parity out there now. So, we'll see what happens tomorrow. I'm ready to see it. A lot of good games.
What did you say? What did you say your score prediction is? Did you give a score prediction?
I said 24-21. I've been
You're right there
saying
with
we're
me.
going to score 56. Yeah, I'm hoping they prove me wrong and they do blow them out. So, I got to be right one time. So,
how's how quick striker update? I saw on social media he was smiling, so I know that's a good sign.
Yeah, I sent you that, and again, we 2 nights ago had a great night. Yesterday was good, and then last night just turned awful quickly. Couldn't get him under control. Heart rate was 170 to 180 again for like almost 4 hours, even with strong meds going in him, and they couldn't get him to calm down. And finally did, and he slept for about 4 hours, and he was up again at 4:30 this morning. It seems to be okay. So we hope today's better, but no plan to go home yet until they can get this figured out, what's going on with him.
So tomorrow, will you go across the street to the Buffalo Wild Wings to watch the game?
Yeah, my wife hates when I start yelling in the hospital room, so do the nurses. Yeah. So I'll probably walk across the street. I wish I could walk across the street tonight to go to down to Boutwell, or not across the street, it's about a block away, but, go see the basketball team. But
I'm glad you mentioned that. I hadn't even mentioned it yet because I got our high school football show tonight, but Alabama and Wake Forest playing in that charity game over at the Boutwell Auditorium. I saw some pics. Boutwell looks great for this thing, man. That they've got it spruced up, and that's gonna be a fun little venue to watch a ball game in.
Yeah, that is. I think it's going to be great. It's a little bit smaller venue, but it's good. I think it's going to be great. You're going to be right there on the court almost. So I'm glad Birmingham's doing that.
All right, buddy.
All right, Garrett. Enjoy the rest of your last time at Innisfree, and then get some lunch. That meat and 3 is awesome.
Oh, I'll be ready for it. Thank you. All right, it's 10:19 here on the Gary Harris Show. I'm due to take a break. JR, you hold tight. We'll get to you on the other side. Brett Pritchard with the Auburn Report coming up at 10:30. Also, that's when we'll do our Bama football trivia contest. So, JR, hold tight. Hey, the YMCA of Tuscaloosa is ready for you, and you're ready for the Y. And 2300 13th Street downtown. Great facility, great people, great personal training, great fitness classes, silver sneakers program. Whatever interests you in terms of fitness and better health, the YMCA can provide it. So get by and see them. They'll give you a tour and get signed up. I've been a member for over 20 years.
That's how you get porch traffic.
This week only, save 20% on costumes with Target Circle and 20% off candy. Make your Halloween come alive at Target. Restrictions apply.
Never miss a moment of the action. Download the free Tide 100.9 app today.
(10:22). Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. High school football last night. We had a number of games around the state ahead of the Friday games, but the one that we paid most attention to was Hillcrest going down to Prattville in Class 7A Region 3, and the Patriots took care of the Lions. Big win for the Patriots, 53-28. Also Mountain Brook in 6A over Huffman, 42-0. Ramsey beat Carver Birmingham, 41-8. And I think those are all the games that have little interest for us. All right, we're going to take some phone calls here. And actually, Joe in Dothan is ahead of JR, and then we'll get to JR. Joe in Dothan, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Gary. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
Gary, I'm going to try to get in on this trivia question. I definitely want to get in the drawing because, you talk about Alabama-Tennessee games that stand out. I remember that game, and, they had beaten us in 2003 and beaten us in 2004. Mm-hmm. And they were driving there at the end of that game, and I thought, oh, my gosh, here we go again. And then Roman Harper, I still remember just jumping up and down when he made that play, and the ball rolled through the end zone. And a lot of people might not remember, Gary, but that was an epic Saturday of college football. Is that, the famous Notre Dame USC, the Bush Push? That was that same day. You talk about a crazy day of football.
Indeed it was, and that was a huge one because, listen, that was Mike Shula's third year, and at that point, even though Alabama had lost Tyrone Prothro, they were undefeated and, had sights on an SEC championship and a defensive game against the Vols that day, and it looked like in the end Tennessee was and I don't want to say too much about the play because we don't want to people already you're tapping into my trivia question, but we'll just leave it alone. And Alabama made a big play in that game to win it on defense, and huge win and stayed unbeaten that year. People forget Alabama was unbeaten going into that LSU game and lost that doggone game in overtime, and then. And I don't know, that just seemed to take the juice out of their sails, and it didn't have Prothro. And, of course, we remember the downside of that season was that Iron Bowl in 2005.
Brody Croyle.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable. They just couldn't hold up with the offensive line. But did bounce back and won the Cotton Bowl that year and had a 10-2 season, and that was the high water mark for Mike Shula. And of course, the next year 6-6, and he was let go before the Independence Bowl game. But that was that 2005 season was a special season. When we weren't having special seasons every year. And you're right, Joe, in that, if Tyrone Prothro, ifs and, buts, but, that Alabama team did not have a ton of playmakers on offense. And when Prothro went down, it changed the dynamic of that offense. If he stays healthy, you look at how close the game was against LSU and how much different it would have made, that team might have run the table. They might have gotten to Atlanta for the SEC championship game because he was that dynamic of a playmaker. But without him, it just really changed that offense. But it was still a good year. And you're right. That's when, that win was big because that was a period where Tennessee had the upper hand. They had won. Right. Had won a bunch of games in a row, and then Fran beat them in 2002, but they came back and won in 2003, 2004, and then Alabama, of course, beat them in 2005, and then Tennessee won in 2006, and then Saban got here in 2007, and they didn't win again for 15 years or whatever it was, but good times.
Well, hopefully, I don't know if you've given your score prediction yet on the game, Gary, but hopefully you can talk me off the ledge.
I got it. I've gotten some pushback for it because I did it on Tider Insider TV the other night. I got Bama winning 24-20, and I've had a lot of people tell me, you think Bama's defense is going to hold Tennessee to 20 points? I do. And listen, I might be totally wrong, but I think this is going to be the defense's game. I think they're going to have a good plan. I think they're sick of hearing about it, and I think they're going to get to Iamaleava and give him trouble, and I think the defense is going to rise up in this game. Now, listen, it doesn't matter to me if they win 44-40. I mean, they win the game, but I think it's going to be a lower scoring game than most people think.
Boy, I hope you're right, Gary. I sure am nervous, but I appreciate you taking my call.
Yes, sir, Joe. Always good to hear from you. All right, let's get to JR. And JR, good morning.
Good morning, Gary. How you doing?
Doing well, buddy. How are you?
Fine. Roll Tide to you.
Absolutely.
I had a few questions in mind. First of all, before I get into that, I've been wanting to come into Innisfree because I understand you're there, and maybe have lunch with you, because I love Innisfree. It's been a while since I've had their meat and three, but they do a great job with that.
Oh, it's awesome. And, it's really good.
Yeah, well, maybe next weekend, because I just had a late breakfast, so I won't be able to make it up there.
I'll be here. I'll be here next week. Next week's a home game, so yeah, swing by if you want to, for sure.
Yeah, was it against Missouri? Who is it against?
Missouri next week. Yeah, no, we don't know the time yet, but Missouri.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully it's a later. I love the evening game, even though it's going to be a little chilly. I love the evening games at Bryant-Denny Stadium. And anyway, question was, what do you think it's going to take? I mean, I know it's been a lot of focus on the Alabama defense as far as getting better, but on the offense, what is our most needed thing to do to improve to be able to win against?
Well, I would like to see, even though I love that Jalen can run the ball and I love that they've been dynamic in the passing game, I would like to see the running game be a little more productive in terms of the two backs, Haynes and Miller. I'd like to see Alabama be able to get that running game going with the running backs, maybe a little more between the tackle stuff, and just be a little more physical with the run game and control the football and grind out some first downs. And That's the area for me that I think they could improve in, would just be the running game overall. Milroe's a dynamic runner, a dynamic playmaker, but I'd like to see those backs get more carries and be more effective in the running game and start knocking down those first downs and wearing that defense out. I think Alabama's had its defense, have these teams go on these 12, 14, 15, 16 play drives. And I wouldn't mind seeing Alabama go on a long drive against a defense and wear them down that way. So for me, it's, get that running game going a little bit.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, although scoring. I'm not going to tell them, hey, listen, if Ryan Williams is open and Milroe wants to toss it to him 75 yards, I got no problem with that. But I still like to see the running game get going.
Well, the running game will open up the passing game because, if we get some running game, they're going to have to, protect against that, and it's going to lead and I think Ryan Williams he's going to shine even better than he has all season. I think this is going to be his game because I agree with you. I think the running game is vitally important, and that will open up the passing game, and I just hope that both of those combined will be enough to, and I predicted even better than you. I got us winning by 10, 34-24.
All right, buddy. Like that. I like the sound of that. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate you. Hopefully I'll see you here next weekend.
Okay. All right, JR. All right, let's appreciate you. Let's get one more phone call. Let's get Ellis in before we hit the break. Hey, Ellis. Good morning.
What's going on, Gary?
Oh, man. Just working, brother. Working.
Time to take down them hillbillies tomorrow.
It's time to go up on Rocky Top and throw a little Crimson celebration. I agree with you.
Yes, sir. Fire up that cigar.
Absolutely.
I'm just waiting. I'm excited about it. I'm not nervous at all. I know we can go up there and win. I'm with you about our defense. I think our defense is going to show up this weekend, and I'm ready for it. I think we're going to win 38-28.
38-28. Ellis is calling it by 10. I tell you, I'd take it. I'd take that one. I promise you, I'd take 38-28.
And I got a Tennessee friend of mine said ever since they've started playing SEC teams and better teams that it's faster, and that quarterback don't know what to think.
Well, he's been rattled the last couple of weeks, but I will tell you this. You want to keep him rattled, and what I mean by that is you want to get some pressure on him. If he stands back there and gets comfortable, he can throw it now. He can sling it. So it's going to be it's going to be the key for Alabama is to keep him rattled, and you do that by hitting him and getting to him and causing him some problems. So if they do
I think that's why they need him $200,000 a month. I think what he gets.
Yeah, they're paying him a lot now. They're paying him a lot. So, all right, brother, got to hit this break. Good to hear from you, Ellis.
All right, I'll see you next weekend.
All right, man, looking forward to it. All right, it's 10:31. We're going to come back with Brett Pritchard with the Auburn report from the Auburn Blitz and also our trivia question. And
or enjoy free shipping to your home on purchases over $25. Your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store is located at 4610 U.S. Highway 280 in Birmingham.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The long dry spell continues through next week. A sunny sky today, the high 71. Clear tonight, not as cold as recent nights, the low 45. Tomorrow and Sunday, the sky's sunny both days. Highs between 74 and 77. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 59 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
Into the Gary Harris Show, and it's time for the Auburn Report with Brett Pritchard from the Auburn Blitz. But before we do that, we're going to do our Bama football trivia contest. Again, we're giving away a signed Daniel Moore print, Rocky Stop, 2005, Alabama 6, Tennessee 3. The high point of the Mike Shula era was that 2005 season, and that win over Tennessee, memorable to say the least. So let's go ahead and do our trivia contest question, and then Chase will be answering the phones the entire segment. We'll qualify people while I'm interviewing Brett, and then we'll close out the segment and the contest at the end of the segment. All right, here's the question. And Joe from Dothan kind of gave it away earlier, so if you were listening, you might have gotten the answer, but I already pulled the question. I want to get a lot of people qualified. We got 30 people qualified last week for the Trent Richardson print. So here we go. In 2005, Alabama, Tennessee tied at 3-3. I want to say it was about 5 minutes to go in the game. Tennessee had a 1st and 10 at about the Alabama 15, and they ran a beautiful screen pass. I think it was Gerald Riggs Jr. was the running back. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Somebody, if I'm wrong, then pardon me, but pretty sure it was Gerald Riggs Jr. They set up the screen beautifully, blocked it beautifully. Riggs is going on his way for a touchdown. If not touchdown, it's going to be 1st and goal at about the 2. And he's on his way down there. Tennessee's about to take a lead, and all of a sudden, boom, hat on the ball pops out, goes through the end zone, touchback for Alabama. They go on down and kick a field goal and win the game 6-3. If you're an Alabama fan, this is not a hard question, but it's a good question. Who made the play? Now, there were a lot of Alabama defenders that are in that print, and a lot of guys that were around the ball, but it was one particular player, and he's very prominent now on television. But if you remember, he put the hat right on that football. It popped out, saved the game for Alabama. They won the game 6-3. Who was the Alabama player that forced the fumble? I'm pretty sure it was Gerald Riggs Jr., the running back for Tennessee, and it went through the end zone, 3-3. Alabama kicks a field goal and wins the game. Again, our question, who was the player that forced the fumble on Gerald Riggs Jr. in the 2005 Alabama-Tennessee game that gave Alabama a chance to win that game? Call now, 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. Phone lines are open the entire segment. You can also use the app, and again, I try to check my social media. If you send me the message there, I'll try to get you qualified. All right, let's get to Brett Pritchard, the Auburn Blitz, off last week because Auburn was on a bye week. So good morning, Brett. First of all, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Appreciate you holding on for us. Hey, listen, I was talking to somebody earlier this week. It's kind of a weird vibe with Auburn. 2-4, 0-3 in the league. But it feels like, and Missouri, was unbeaten and top 10 and all that good stuff and before they got waylaid by A&M. But it feels like there's a lot of people, me included, that think Auburn may go up there and win this football game. Is that kind of the buzz you're getting around the Auburn program at Missouri?
I think you have to approach it that way. I mean, look, the bye week gave everybody a chance to kind of regroup, hit a reset button. I think it came at a good time for this team. And look, Gary, this has not been, blowout loss for
right.
Auburn. Auburn, it's just self-inflicted wounds and tons of mistakes and, look, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Auburn, played, I thought, decent football against Georgia, but again, too many mistakes to overcome. And, I didn't think Georgia played that well. And, it was a game into the fourth quarter, and that's all you could ask for. But the Arkansas game, the Cal game, are games that that you're going to go back and look at and say, man, you know, we had our opportunities and we probably should have won those games, but you can't go back and fix what's in the past. So you got to look in the future. And I think if Auburn can clean their act up, you know, and play a game that's mistake-free. And, you know, you go back to the Oklahoma game where you have got to finish that football game. You're up 21-10 in the fourth quarter. You're at home. You have all the momentum. And this team found a way to lose. And so it's like instead of trying to finish games, they're trying to hold off teams, and it ends up being, you know, the pressure or whatever, especially for like Peyton Thorne right now in key moments. You know, he'll play a great football game, but in a key moment, he makes a bad decision. And so, look, we'll see. I mean, you know, Missouri is not overly impressive. I don't think any of us ever felt like, and I think when you look at the point spread, there's still a lot of naysayers out there as far as, hey, is this Missouri team really a top 15, top 20 type team? You know, you look at their wins, and they've got, you know, some blowout wins against lesser than opponents, and then the teams that they played that are, you know, decent opponents, they've had a couple of close wins, and then, of course, they got blown out at Texas A&M. So, yeah, this is a winnable game. I mean, if you look at the stats, which is kind of crazy, they're better at running the football than Auburn, but Auburn's better at passing the football, and it was supposed to be the opposite of that, I thought. I thought, you know, coming into the season, you know, Brady Cook was a guy that a lot of people thought could win the Heisman, and with all the hype, and they've struggled with the passing game, and in Auburn on the flip side, you would think Jarquez Hunter coming back would being the best back in the league returning, just hasn't gotten the carries that a lot of Auburn fans feels like he should have. So if Auburn goes up and plays a clean game, yes, Gary, I think they can definitely win this game on the road, and I think it's a must-win for them to try to get things turned around and going in the right direction.
Yeah, because second half of the season, and Auburn can still do some good things. You said a lot there and a lot of good content. Listen, it looks like now Auburn has settled on Peyton Thorne as the QB the rest of the way, right? I mean, he's going to be the guy. They're going to sink or swim with him the rest of the season.
Well, right now, let me just say this. I think the next 2 weeks are going to really determine what Hugh Freeze and how he focuses on the rest of the year. If Auburn loses to Missouri and Kentucky on the road, and this team, you know, moves to a 2-6 mark on the season, then, you know, I don't know really what you're playing for at that point anymore, other than some pride. And then Peyton Thorne's not coming back. And again, this is all Brett talking here. This is not me having some insight, but at some point in time, you have Vanderbilt and La Monroe and Texas A&M coming in before you go on the road to play Bama. That'll be the last 4 games of the season. You got to make a decision. Is there somebody in that quarterback room, whether it be Hank Brown or Holden Geriner or, you know, Walker White? You know, Walker White seemed to be the guy that everybody was excited to hear about and see. And do you just cut the reins off and say, look, this is your season the rest of the year because you're going to be our guy next year, or we want you to be our guy next year, and we're going to give you 4 real games, you know, to get under your belt, win, lose, or draw, whatever happens. And so I don't know how the coaching staff will approach it. Now, Auburn wins, absolutely Peyton Thorne is the guy because Hugh Freeze has said it multiple times, and I do think experience-wise he gives Auburn the best chance to win. And he's played well in some games, but he's had some very bad decisions at bad moments in games that have really hurt Auburn. The 4th and 1 decision at Georgia was crucial in the way that game swung. And that interception late in the game against Oklahoma, I mean, let's just be honest, it cost Auburn the football game. So, yeah, if Auburn wins, Gary, yeah, he's gonna be the quarterback all the way to the end of the season. But, you know, if Auburn loses the next 2 games, it's a whole different scenario, in my opinion.
Real quickly, I've already been corrected. It was not Gerald Riggs Jr. that fumbled that ball for Tennessee. He fumbled earlier in the game. It was the fullback, Corey Anderson. So I was wrong about that. I was trying to do it off memory, but yeah, it was the fullback. So I want to get that in. It was not Gerald Riggs Jr. It doesn't change the fact that the guy who made the hit is our answer, but it was not Riggs Jr. that fumbled that ball. Let me ask you about Hugh Freeze, because obviously he's recruiting well. We see the recruiting rankings. We know that there's still a lot of optimism around the program going forward, but where is the confidence level of the Auburn family right now in regards to their head coach?
I still think there's a lot of confidence around Hugh Freeze. I mean, I think there's I mean, look, you don't want to be looking for another head football coach. You know, this is one of those situations where, look, he's recruiting well. There's a lot of things to be excited about. Are the results on the field what Auburn fans want? No, absolutely not. But I think the Auburn fan base is still behind Hugh Freeze, and they should be. Look, it hasn't been a good year. And, you know, we talked about it on our program yesterday. I mean, what if Auburn were to make – I mean, look, Alabama's struggling a little bit. They're still a good football team, but they're not what we're used to seeing the last several years. Texas A&M seems to be a surprise team, a team that has caught everybody off guard. But how do they play over the next 3 or 4 weeks? We'll see. And then on any given year, you would take Missouri, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt on your schedule. If you can get those 3 teams on your schedule, you take them every year. So this is not some daunting end of the season for Auburn. Auburn's got to not beat Auburn. I think that's what the biggest part of this is. And so if Auburn could actually get on a run, who knows how this thing could play out. And let's just say Auburn makes a run and finally finishes the season instead of starting strong and dwindling. Maybe it's a reversal this year. Maybe they kind of, you know, lick their wounds a little bit, reset here at the break, and turn things around. Now, do I think Auburn's going to go 6-0? No, I don't. But could they win 4? Yeah, they could, and finish 6-6. But on a best case scenario, they could win out and go, you know, 8-4. Then we're looking back, going, my gosh, what could have been if Auburn didn't? So, but there's still a lot of football left to play. So I think there is still a lot of, you know, momentum behind Hugh Freeze, especially recruiting. And you know, if you look at Dabo Swinney at Clemson when he got there, you look at some of these other coaches. I mean, we all are impatient as fans, but it takes time to build, especially when you were left with what he was left. So I think patience is key. It's tough to do that. You want to win now, but I really think the pressure ramps up next year. There'll be a higher expectations next year because, look, this will be 3 years in. You got 3 recruiting classes under your belt. The play on the field has got to get better at some point.
All right, Brett, well, tell me what you got on Saturday. Who you picking?
You know, I have felt cautiously optimistic about this thing all week for some reason. I don't know why. Sure. I just think at some point in time things have got to turn in your favor. And, you know, turning the football over as much as Auburn has and shooting themselves in the foot as much as they have, you got to correct. And at some point you just got to go out and play football and be loose. And I think maybe now if there were pressure, there's no pressure. Go play football. I mean, Missouri has all the pressure on their back. They're the ones that were predicted to be a top 10 team this year. So if Auburn can go up there and I think they can easily compete on the road at Missouri at 11 o'clock, they can go up and win this football game. I've got them winning the game 28-24, and I think it's going to be close. But finally, Auburn makes some plays, and they don't let one slip away at the end. They make some plays to win a game, actually. So, and it will be big, too, in the fact that it's on the road, Gary. Again, Auburn's had its struggles, obviously, at home, but going on the road now, get a big win there. Who knows what you could do for the rest of the year.
And lastly, let me ask you about basketball. I mean, it is what it is, but, you know, Alabama and Auburn kind of leading the way for the SEC in the preseason. Now, there's a lot of good teams, and we'll see how it plays out. But, you know, it still looks good when you see the two teams from in the state that kind of the highest ranked teams in the preseason. But for Auburn, you know, give us your rundown of this basketball team and you know, how far you think they can go.
A loaded question there, Gary, sitting here in the middle of October. I know,
but yeah, just your.
Can it go far? Yeah, absolutely. This team has got a lot of talent. First of all, when was the last time you've seen Kentucky preseason ranked 8th?
Yeah,
that was the shocker there. It does, and look, I think all of the state of Alabama should stop for a minute. And you heard what not Hugh Freeze, but you heard what Coach Pearl said at media days. He said, look, I think the coaches at Alabama and I think the coaches at Auburn have taken ownership of this deal, and they've taken it upon themselves to change the culture of the way basketball is looked at in this state, and it has. I mean, Alabama's been to a Final Four now. Auburn's been to a Final Four. I mean, who would have thought, 15 years ago that basketball would be where it is right now? And you know what? Credit to Nate Oates, credit to Bruce Pearl. They have the top 2 teams in the league. They should be. I think they're right there where they need to be. And, for Auburn, when was the last time you saw a team have 10 seniors on a basketball team? I mean, most of the time you don't have any more than 13, 14 guys on a roster. And then Auburn's got 10 seniors, so they've got a lot of talent, a lot of veterans that come back. Deni Broom and will obviously lead the way, and Cardwell and those guys, and the guys that were added last year like Chaney Johnson and Denver Jones. I think Denver Jones got a lot better at the end of the year, but then you add Miles Kelly and Ja'Kai Howard and Todd Setterford and those guys like that. I mean, you're looking at a very talented roster, but you're looking at a very tough schedule. I mean, arguably the toughest non-conference schedule in the country. Now, Alabama's got a tough one too, and they played a tough one last year. But Auburn played in the Maui Invitational with the teams that they're potentially going to play out there, and then scheduling Purdue and Houston and Ohio State and Duke and just all the games they got to play before they even get in conference play is going to test this team. And I think maybe that's what Bruce Pearl saw in last year's team that was lacking. Maybe they got to the tournament and they weren't where they needed to be, even though they had a good season and won the tournament. So they're going to be tested. You can't lose them all. You got to win your fair share early, but I think the sky's the limit for this team. I think both Auburn and Alabama are deep tournament teams, and I'm just glad to see it.
Great stuff as always, and I know you got the Auburn Blitz coming up today at noon.
We do. Got a packed show today, and of course Jason Caldwell will be on with us as always from Auburn Undercover to talk about the game tomorrow. Recruiting, basketball, got a lot to cover, but yeah, Gary, appreciate it as always being on the show.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you, Brett. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, it's 10:51. We'll take our final timeout.
Home and auto insurance with Progressive. Swish Ace Savings TKO.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The long dry spell continues through next week. A sunny sky today, the high 71. Clear tonight, not as cold as recent nights, the low 45. Tomorrow and Sunday, the sky's sunny both days. Highs between 74 and 77. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 60 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Stay up to date with the Crimson Tide.
Local high school sports and Bama in the pros right here on Tide 100.9.
We got to get through it quickly. Let me go ahead and give my SEC point spread predictions real quickly. And I've got Alabama laying the 3 at Tennessee. I'm going to go ahead and take Auburn plus the 4 at Missouri. I think they may win that game outright. Back and forth on Georgia and Texas. It's down to 4.5. I just think that Texas is better, and they're at home on Saturday night at DKR Stadium. I'm going to take Texas minus the 4.5. A lot of people are on South Carolina. I think Oklahoma wins this one at home over the Gamecocks. Oklahoma minus 1.5. I've got Mississippi State plus the 18. I think they're playing better. I think they keep it within the number at home against A&M. I'm going to take Arkansas plus the 3 at home against LSU. I'm going to take Florida. I've been riding the Gators. They did hit last week, even though they didn't win. I got Florida minus the 1.5, or plus 1.5, I'm sorry, at home against Kentucky. And I think this is a test for Vanderbilt to prove they're a real deal. They're going to win the game. Will they win it impressively? Ball State's a bad team. I'm going to lay the 26.5 here with Vanderbilt. All right, trivia question. Who made the big hit to preserve the Iron Bowl in 2005? And again, I was corrected. It was not Gerald Riggs Jr. It was fullback Corey Anderson. The answer is Roman Harper, and he is prominently displayed on this print that we're about to draw for. How many qualifiers did we have, Chase?
We had 24.
All right, 24 qualifiers. Your name and phone number is next to the number in which you qualified. Roll the roulette wheel. Whatever number it stops on is our winner. Go ahead and give it a roll.
Winner is number 9. That would be Gil.
All right, Gil, you hold tight, and I'll get your number from Chase, and I'll be in touch with you about picking up that Daniel Moore print. Congratulations to all of our qualifiers, and let's get ready for Alabama, Tennessee, the third Saturday in October. Tomorrow afternoon, shortly after 2:30 on ABC. Again, pregame and postgame coverage on Tide 109, the Bear 95.3. We are your Alabama go-to on Saturdays for Crimson Tide football. And of course, I'll be on the air tonight with the local sports and with Football Friday, 10:30 to 11:30 on WVUA 23. I want to thank Audio Bob for coming out here and hooking me up this morning and getting us ready here for Fridays at the Free. I'm going to hang around and have lunch. You're welcome to join me. They're going to open the doors at 11 a.m. Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 is on like Donkey Kong here at Innisfree Irish Pub. Have a great day, everybody, and stay tuned for more great sports talk all day long on Tide 100.9 FM and 12:30 a.m. WTBC, your home for Alabama sports.
For listening to the